All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, this lesson is about the conspiracy and the planned assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Okay. Now, before we went on break, we talked about how General Lee surrendered to Grant and how basically that was the end of the Civil War. Now you have to remember, it wasn't like that was it. That's it's all over now. But it was the tail end. This is where things are starting to really come down for the South. Okay. And hopefully when you after you watch this video and you listen, I would really recommend that you listen to it all completely because this is a really, really important thing because there's two parts to the story. Today, we're going to talk about the assassination of Lincoln, and then the second half, which we'll talk about next week in the new grading period, is going to be about the chase of the guy who assassinated Lincoln. Okay. Now, the objective today, we're going to analyze the plan to kidnap Lincoln. Because, yeah, that's the thing. The original plan wasn't to kill Lincoln, the original plan was to kidnap him. So, right there, that's already something that a lot of people don't even know about. A lot of people just thought, oh, this guy killed Lincoln, that was it. No, the original plan was to kidnap him. So, we're going to talk about that. Why did he want to kidnap him? What's the purpose? Things like that. We're examining the events leading to the assassination and if there was anything to be done to stop it. And it would create an argument on whether Major Rathbone could have done anything more to stop Booth. Okay. So here is your warm up picture. Now, what I want you to do on this one is to use your prior knowledge. Okay, everything you learned about Lincoln and things like that and the assassination, some of that, and tell me who or sorry, or what's going on here. And be sure to try to use specific names. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't know who these people are, but you at least know who one person is on this picture. So write their name down. When you explain what's happening, be sure you put that person's name. Now, if you know more than one person, that's awesome. Great. If you know three or more, I'd be very, very impressed. Okay. But still, what's going on in this picture, be sure to put the names down. And again, if you're like, I don't know who this person is or this person, that's okay. That's what we're here to learn about. Okay. But you should at least have one person. You should know who one person is in this picture. Okay. And you can see him. He's right there. Okay. So pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. So, the guy you see in that picture right there, that is John Wilkes Booth. He was a very, very famous and successful actor at that time. He was also a Southern sympathizer. Now, what that means is he believed that the North, the Union, was basically being kind of like a Karen to the South. He was like, why are you, the Union, telling the Southern people how to live their life and things like that? Because the thing is, too, he didn't like black people. He saw that racism was, or not racism, slavery was okay, you know, in his point of view. So, of course, he's going to say, yeah, what the Southern people are doing, that's okay, that's fine, and how dare these Union people tell them how to live their lives. Okay. Now, the thing is, too, he was from Maryland, which is, where Washington, D.C. is. Okay. Now, Booth's family, these guys are world famous actors. All of them. Mom, dad, brother, himself. You have to remember, this is before, telephones, before even electricity. And yet these guys are known worldwide because they were that good of actors. Okay. Their specialty was Shakespearean plays, Othello, Hamlet, things like that. Now, near the end of the Civil War, Booth, like a lot of Americans, realized, yeah, the South is going to lose. Things are tailing off. Um, Lee has already lost at Gettysburg. Grant took Vicksburg. The Confederates, they were winning at the very beginning, but now they're losing and they're losing more and more and more. So there looks like it's going to be the end. So what happens is Booth goes to Montreal, Canada. And there he meets these Confederate agents, these guys who are trying to help out the South and try to find people who are willing to help the South. So this is where Booth comes in, and they tell him, "Hey, you know what? You live in Maryland. You're a famous person. You need to do something, to help the South. Because if you can't, nobody else can." So Booth is like, "Yeah, yeah, I need to do something. I really do need to do something." So when he goes back to Maryland, he formulates a plan to kidnap Abraham Lincoln. Now, the plan is this: once he kidnaps Lincoln, he's going to exchange him for all the Confederate prisoners who are prisoners of war. Now, because you have to remember, if you remember from a couple lessons before, when the 54th Massachusetts, the all black regiment, when they started to be trained and stuff like that, the South said, if we catch any black soldiers, we're going to put them into slavery. And then the North said, well, if you do that, we're not going to give you any of your soldiers back. So remember, they had the prisoner exchange. Here's this captain, we'll trade him for a bunch of lieutenants and things like that. So they had this exchange, but once the black soldiers came in, the exchange stopped. So the North had a ton of Southern soldiers that they captured. So Booth is like, well, if I capture Lincoln, then I'll have them release all those soldiers from prison. And then when they go back down to the South, they'll fight again. And now then the South will have enough people to keep the war going on, and they won't lose as bad. So the plan is pretty simple. But Booth is no fool. He realizes, I can't do this by myself. I need help. So Booth gets help from some people, and they all meet at the Washington boarding house, which is owned by this woman named Mary Surratt. Now, keep that name in the back of your head, because next week her name's going to come back again, and she makes history, U.S. history, and you'll find out how next week. Now, her son, John Surratt Jr., he's part of the conspiracy. Okay. And the thing is, he was Confederate courier. Couriers are people who like basically deliver like small packages, letters, things like that. So he's pretty good at hiding things on him and stuff like that, and being able to deliver things. So pretty handy guy. Samuel Arnold is Booth's old friend when they're kids, you know. So yeah, like a student told me earlier today, oh, that's like his ride or die. Yeah, in a sense, kind of. Yeah. Same thing with Michael O'Laughlin. They've been friends for years. And the thing is, O'Laughlin was an ex-soldier. Okay. Now, George Ozerodt, the next guy, he was a great smuggler. Really, really good. He was able to run blockades through water, through land. If you needed a package delivered, and had to cross enemy territory, you know, some of that, he was the man. Okay. He was a really good smuggler. Now, this dude you see in this picture right here, that is Lewis Thornton Powell. You probably can't tell from the picture, uh, but he was very, very strong. He was a tall guy, really strong, almost like this. It's almost like a bodybuilder. He was just cut. You know, and the thing is though, he was a soldier, but he was a trained killer. His specialty was hand to hand combat. So if you came at him with a knife, he could easily take it out of your hands and bring it right back at you. Or if you try to attack him with your fists and things like that, he could defend himself quite easily. Okay. Now, the other thing about him, though, is he was once a prisoner of war. So that prisoner exchange we talked about, he was one of those guys who was let out, you know, So he realized what it was like to be a prisoner of war. He knew what it was like to be in those Union prisons, and he hated it. He knew it was horrible. So when Booth comes to him and says, "We're gonna free those soldiers," he was like, "Sign me up." Okay. Now, the last guy, his name is Dr. Samuel Mudd. Okay. He too, like Booth, was a Southern sympathizer. But the thing is this, he was well respected in his community. And that ends up helping him at the end. Because the thing is, um, when everything goes down, they like, oh, who was part of this plan? And someone says Dr. Mudd was part of this plan. His whole community was like, no, not Dr. Mudd. Dr. Mudd's, he doesn't do that kind of stuff. He's not that kind of guy. He's too nice. He's too much of a good guy. He wouldn't do that. So it's because of his community. He had a, like, was known for being a good guy, having good character. He didn't get punished. So here's all the picture of the conspirators. Mary Surratt's in the middle. The only person not pictured again is Dr. Samuel Mudd. Now, here is the plan. Lincoln is supposed to attend this play called Still Waters Run Deep at this hospital just outside of Washington. Now, between where Washington is and where the play is, in the middle, there's this like hill type of land where there's trees and things like that. And nobody's there. There's like no houses or anything like that, no farms. So Booth's plan is simple. When he leaves Washington and he's making a way towards that hills and the tree area, right? They're gonna basically intercept his carriage. They're gonna disable it. They're going to hold him at gunpoint, kidnap him, and then ride off. And then once they have him, they'll make the demand for it to release all the prisoners. Okay? Pretty simple, straightforward, sounds plausible, right? Feasible. Now, here's the thing. Um, Lincoln does something he typically does. He tends to do quite often, which is change his mind. What happened was before he was going to go to the play, Lincoln decides, you know what, I'm going to go talk to the 140th Indiana Regiment because these guys are about to go off to fight and stuff like that. I should go see them, talk to them, and wish them good luck and things like that. So he does that instead of going to the play. Now the conspirators are like, oh man, we lost our chance. So Booth says, no, 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 I got another plan. Okay, look at. So there's a theater that Lincoln always goes to called Ford's Theater, and that's a picture of it right there. You see it, okay? Um, and he goes, so I know where Lincoln booth is, right? It's right there. I know where it's at. I know this building like the back of my hand. I played there so many times. So what we'll do is I'll sneak in, get him, you know, basically bring him down through the backstage area, and we'll ride off, you know. Here's the thing. Look at that picture. Does that look like it's in the middle of nowhere? No. Ford's Theater is like dead smack in the middle of town. Okay. And on top of that, if you guys don't know how tall Lincoln is, he's 6'4". Now, thing is, the theater has a ton of people there. Not only people watching, but the matinee people, the people backstage, the stage hands, and like that. So it's like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna tiptoe with him? Holding him. Two people have to hold him. Going through that place. No. So his conspirator guys are like, Booth, this is a stupid plan. That's not gonna work. We're gonna get caught. And we try, let's say we somehow we manage to get through and we ride away, people are gonna see us. So it doesn't really help. Maybe come back with another plan. Now, Booth gets furious because at this point, Lee surrenders to Grant at the Appomattox courthouse. And he just loses. He's like, I cannot believe Lee surrenders to Grant. Lee's the top general this country has ever had, and he just surrenders? That's crap. And on top of that, Lincoln gives a speech on a balcony right out on the backside of the White House. And since the 13th Amendment passed, which ended slavery, Lincoln says for the first time by any president, he believes some black people should have the right to vote. Now, a lot of people who were listening up below in the underneath the balcony were like, "Oh my God, this is the first president to ever say that. Oh my God, he thinks black people should have the right to vote. Oh my goodness, that's so great. That's so amazing." And then you got a handful of people like Booth who are upset about this. And in Booth's mind, he heard all black people should have the right to vote. But that's not what Lincoln said. Lincoln said some. Lincoln was thinking more of the soldiers who fought in the war should have the right to vote, and the educated black people should have the right to vote. Okay. But again, Booth just hears all black people. So he just loses it. He blows his top. He is so furious and angry. He calls the group back together and he tells them, guys, we're not going to kidnap Lincoln. We're going to kill him. Now, they're right there. They're like, oh my God, you're serious? He's like, yes. But here's the thing, we cannot just kill him. You cut off the head of a snake, two heads grow back. It's a hydra. You know, we need to kill Lincoln, Vice President Johnson, Secretary of State Seward, and if we can, get General Grant. But we have to hit them all at the same time because if we don't, security is going to be on those other guys in a heartbeat. But if we get them all at the same time, nobody's going to know who's in charge. People are going to be panicking. They're going to be leaderless, and that's where the South will have a chance to fight back and possibly win this war. But you got to kill them, all of them, at the same time. Now, this part is not on your notes, but this is a part if I was in class, we would I would dramatize it, would show you exactly how it happened. I had students act out as Lincoln and Major Rathbone. But this is what happened basically on the night of, uh, on April 14th, 1865. General Grant and his wife sent a notice to Lincoln saying, hey, we would love to join you at this play called Our American Cousins, but we can't. You know, Lincoln and his wife want to go see this play and they're feeling good. They want people to be around them, but everyone says no. Secretary of State Stewart, he was in a carriage accident. He basically flew out the carriage and he busted his neck and he had this brace over his shoulders and up his neck. So he was walking like this, he could not move. Um, they invited Grant, they invited Stewart, Vice President Johnson. Everyone said no, but two people said yes. That was Major Rathbone. You see him right there, and his fiance Clara Harris, which is that lady right there. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll join you. Now, the conspirators, the Booth and his people, each one of them decide, okay, we're going to take out somebody. Booth says, I'll take out Lincoln myself. Powell and Harold, you guys go after Secretary of State Stewart. George Ozerat, you take out Vice President Johnson. So again, they all planned out to kill their person around like 10:30, 11 o'clock, you know, and they know they got to hit them quick. Now, around 10:15, Booth enters the Fort Theater. And the thing is, you have to remember, this is before Secret Service protected the president. There was Secret Service, but their job was to catch counterfeiters, people who made fake money. That's still their job to this day. But back then, that was their only job. It wasn't to protect the president. The president did have bodyguards, but he kind of let them go for the day. Okay. But he did have some aides, some people who helped out Lincoln and things like that who were nearby. And when Booth was coming up the stairs, one of the guys stopped him. He's like, hey, where are you going? And Booth is like, shows him a card. He's like, hey, I'm an actor, John Wilkes Booth. Uh, I'm part of this play. I need to get to this section because it's part of the play. And the aide's like, oh my God, you are Booth. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Here you go. And he lets him go. Now, Booth goes up the stairs and he goes to the balcony where Lincoln is. He opens the door very slightly, and there's Lincoln sitting in his chair watching. And the thing is, Lincoln's kind of leaning forward to see the orchestra below playing and stuff like that. And Booth is just creeping slowly with the gun. Now, the thing is, uh, Booth knows this play like the back of his hand. He knows when the people are going to laugh, cheer, when the band's going to do this loud bang noise and stuff like that. So he's just waiting. He's waiting. Lincoln's still leaning over. And when he gets about this close to him, he shoots him. Right when the people start laughing, the band starts playing, bam, he shoots him. And hits him right behind the right eye area. Okay. Now, here's the thing. The shot, the people below didn't hear it, but Major Rathbone did. So when he heard it, he jumped at Booth and they started wrestling for a little bit. And then Booth grabs a dagger from his waist and slashes Major Rathbone. Now, right there and then, Booth, just like your warm up picture, starts to try to jump out the balcony, where you see right there. But right before he's about to jump, Major Rathbone kind of grabs him enough to where his spur gets caught on that little flag you see there. And instead of landing feet even, he lands kind of funky. And when uh, his foot hits the ground, he breaks the shin bone. It just shatters. And then people are in the stage, or people watching the play were like, "What the heck is going on?" And then Booth yells out, "Sic semper tyrannis," which is Latin for "thus always to tyrants." And then he hobbles off to the back of the stage and he leaves out the back door where there's a horse waiting for him. Now, the people in the crowd are kind of confused. They're like, "Is this part of the play? I don't remember. I've seen this play before. I don't remember that part." And then they hear a scream, and it's Mary Todd. And from some of the little books I've read and stuff like that on it, they said it was a scream that just gave you chills down your arms and your back. You just knew something horrible had happened. Now, in the audience, there's a doctor named Charles Lee, and he runs up the stairs. He sees Lincoln hunched over, bleeding from his head. He brings him over and he looks at him, and you can see Lincoln is still alive. Lincoln's just, he's breathing hard. And so he lays him down and stuff like that. And he's all checking him, he's checking for vitals and stuff like that. While he's doing that, soldiers are coming up the stairs and they see Leo with Lincoln, and he tells them, "Guys, we need to get him out of here." So the soldiers pick him up and they're going down the stairs, carefully taking Lincoln down. By the time they get to the front doors into the streets are packed with people. So many people clamoring, crying, shouting and things like that because they heard already that Lincoln has been shot. Now, across the street from the theater, there's a boarding house, and the owner's like signaling them over, saying, "Hey, bring him over here, bring him over here." So the soldiers are carrying Lincoln through the crowd, and the crowd again are crying and they're screaming, and people are upset and confused. So when they bring in Lincoln, um, they put him to the bed. But the thing is, he's 6'4", and the bed is not fit for a man that size. So they had to put him diagonally, and they even had to like kind of turn his legs so it kind of angles a little bit, bending his knees and stuff like that, so he could fit on the bed. Now Lincoln is breathing really hard. He's just laboring his breath, just kind of like that. The doctor, the surgeon, starts to look in the back of his head and sees that there's a bullet. So he puts his finger in there and tries to feel around, and Lincoln's just like, "Oh my god," the strain of it. And as he kind of touching it, he realizes the bullet has mushroomed. And he says to him, "We can't take the bullet out, because if we start pulling it out, it's going to cut through nerve, muscle, tissue, things like that, and it's just going to cause him so much more pain. And also, he's bleeding out." They're like, "Whoever needs to come see him, bring him now, because he's not going to live." So they get his son, his cabinet members. They're coming over to see Lincoln. They're saying their final goodbyes and stuff like that. And on April 15th, 1865, at 7:22 in the morning, Abraham Lincoln is declared dead. He's 56 years old. Secretary of State Seward famously says he now belongs to the ages. Some people think he said angels, but a lot of stuff I've researched it said the ages. And that's the end of Abraham Lincoln. Now, here's the thing. This first picture you see with his hair combed and stuff like that, that's a picture taken right before he left to become president. The other picture is his last known pictures. Guys, these two pictures are only 4 years apart. And you could see how much he's aged, how sick he looks on his last picture. And that's what the presidency does. The Civil War really took a toll on him. It hurt his health, his mental health, his physical health, and you could just see he looks so much older. Now, that top gun you see there, that is the actual gun that was shot and used against Lincoln. It's a Derringer 41 caliber bullet gun. It's about the size of your palm. They still make them to this day, but they don't make them like that. That's the Flint one. You have to basically put the powder or the bullet, pack it in, put a little cap on the trigger, the hammer, and then it would shoot. Okay. Um, the dagger that Booth used to cut Major Rathbone is right there, and the bullet was taken out of Lincoln after he died, and you can see how it mushroomed. Remember, bullets tend to be like this, and once they hit the body, they mushroom out like that and expand. And when they go out, they tend to kind of have like little hooks, as you can see. Okay. So when he was saying, if we pull it out, you can see it would have cut through the nerves, muscle, tissue, things like that. So, yeah. And imagine that bullet lodged behind your right eye, pressing against it. So yeah, Lincoln was in a lot of pain. Now, here is my final question to you. Now, remember, Lincoln won his second uh, term as president. At that time, there was no limit at how long a president could be a president. But based off that picture you saw, everything that Lincoln went through for this Civil War and some of that, do you think he would have ran a third time, or do you think he'd have been like, you know what, I'm done. I did my part. I've given so much. I'm done. Or do you think he would have been like, no, there's still more work to be done. I need to stay in office and keep doing what needs to be done. What do you think? What do you think he more likely would have done? Okay. So be sure you put your explanation why you believe he would have continued or why he would have quit, after he finished his second term. Um, Now, if you notice, we finished, but we haven't talked about Booth, how he took off and stuff. That's going to be part two when we come back next week. Or sorry, when we come back next week. When we start next grading period, that first lesson next week is going to be on that. What happened to Booth? What happened to the conspirators? Did they kill all those guys? We're going to be studying about that. Okay. So, once you finish this question, you're done with this lesson. So, hopefully, you learned something new. Hopefully, you enjoyed it. Okay. And again, I do apologize. It looks so much better in class because I have so many guys acted out with me. It just looks so much better in class. Okay. So, I do apologize if it didn't seem as enjoyable. Okay. But again, with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.